Hi, I'm Ellen from the Chili Dog. I love knitting socks, both from the toe up and from the top down, but I don't love the hole that can form on both sides of the heel when you transition from working back and forth in rows and return to working in rounds. So today I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to prevent those transitional holes. I'm going to be demonstrating with the toe up short row heel shaping option for my Ready Set Go socks, but this little trick can be used for toe up or top down short row heels, toe up or top down flapless gusset heels, or toe up gusset and flap heels. First, let's take a look at the problem and why it happens, and then I'll show you what to do to fix the problem if it isn't already addressed in your sock knitting pattern. Here's a sample sock I've been knitting. It has a short row heel, and in the second half of the heel shaping, each row is 1 stitch longer than the row below it. On my final right side row, I knit all the way across to the side of the heel. Then I turned my work over and I purled all the way across to the other side of the heel. Finally, I turned things over once more and I worked around the first round of the leg. Since there's basically 1 row of height difference between the last right side row and the first round, I got a little hole here at the side of the sock. Things are worse on the other side of the sock because there's basically 2 rows of height difference before that first round of knitting. Of course, you could somehow sew those holes shut when you finish knitting your sock, but it's actually not that hard to avoid making the holes in the first place. The trick to avoid making those unsightly holes at the transition between working in rows and rounds is by not working the final wrong side heel row. Instead, you start working in rounds again as soon as you've completed the final right side heel row. Some designers automatically incorporate this into their sock patterns, like I have for the Ready, Set, Go socks, but some designers don't. So you'll need to know how to approach the problem. Just a reminder, even though I'm demonstrating with a short row heel, this same concept can be applied to toe up or top down flapless gusset heels and toe up gusset and flap heels. Right now, I'm at the point in my heel shaping where I technically would need to work 1 more right side row, then turn my work over and work 1 more wrong side row. For a short row heel, this means that I still have 1 final turning stitch to deal with on each side of the sock. For the other styles of heels I mentioned, it would mean there's 1 final decrease left to be made on each side of the heel. So I am going to begin by knitting across my final right side row of my sock heel. At the end of the heel, I'll deal with either the turning stitch in this case or the decrease, just like I have been for every other right side row of the sock. Now, instead of turning things over to work the final wrong side row, instead I'm going to switch back to working in rounds and work across the instep of my sock. Since there's no height difference here, it's a little bit hard to see. Since there's no height difference between where I've switched from working in rows to working in rounds, there's not going to be a big gaping hole there. When I get to the end of the instep and I'm back at the heel again, I'm going to need to deal with either that final turning stitch for a short row heel like the one I'm working, or the final decrease, which will usually need to be a knit two together for the other heel styles. Working that final turning stitch or the final decrease actually kind of minimizes any height difference between the round and row transition, so you don't get that big gaping hole that you did when you worked the final wrong side row of the heel in the first example. So now our problem is solved. I hope you enjoyed learning how to prevent holes when transitioning from rows to rounds in short row sock heels, flapless gusset heels, and toe-up gusset and flap heels by simply skipping the final wrong side heel row. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you'd like to try this technique in a pattern, head over to the shop section of thechillydog.com and look for either the toe-up or top-down versions of my Ready, Set, Go socks. Until we stitch again, happy knitting!